All right, I think we're off. Hi, I'm Sherry Truler with Red Apple Auctions. Thank you for joining me today, where we're going to be talking about starting bids, or AKA, why did the auctioneer start at that price, whether that's too high or too low. And this is inspired because about 35 minutes ago, I got off the phone with a prospective client who was seeking out a new auctioneer because they were unhappy with the way that their auctioneer started some of the items last year. They said she was just high and then she'd go down and it was embarrassing, and the donor was sitting there and I was like, oh, this is bad, that nobody wants the donor's item, no one's bidding, she's got to go down and down and down. Okay, let's talk a little bit about how auctioneers start their starting bids, and this will be flexible among auctioneers. I strongly encourage you to visit with your auctioneer about it if this is a hot button for you. So if we think about benefit auctions, many benefit auctions are worked by commercial auctioneers. Now that is changing. There are some auctioneers who don't do anything but benefit auctions. I'm one of them. But many have commercial auctioneers that are going in to work that event. In the commercial auction world, there is a specific way that you are taught to sell merchandise. And most of the states require an auctioneer to go to auction school. So when you go to auction school, what you will hear is this best practice. The first offer that you make, oops, let's stop that. The first offer that you throw out is going to be the value of what that item is, what you expect that item to sell for. And then if you don't get it, you drop it down to about half. So the reason being is that in a commercial auction, you may have 100, 200, 500, 1,000 items to sell. Speed is very important. We need to move through these items rapidly. So if I start a table, for instance, at $500, because generally speaking, I know that in this market with this crowd, the table is worth $500. So I might say, who's going to be, would I get $500? Would I get $500? And if I get $500, great, because we're that much closer to selling it. 500, would I get 550? Would I get a half? I got a half. Would I get $600? Maybe I don't get $600. 550, would I get a $600? No $600. Sold. 550 to bidder 18. So now I can very rapidly move on to the next item. In a benefit auction, let me continue with that. So now let's say I don't get $500. So at that point, best practice is to drop it down to half. Isn't it interesting? At this point, bidders become intrigued. The $500 table is on sale for $250. Now people who weren't even interested in the table start to pay attention because everybody likes a deal. So now you've started to get bidders involved. At this point, bidders become engendered to the item. Anybody bidding against them is competition. This is what is called auction fever. This is a real thing. So as people get involved, now that's when you start to see the prices go for more than what you expected. But it's important to get people involved at that lower price, because that's what ramps you up for that nice final sale price. Okay? So let's now switch the commercial auction and put on our benefit auction hats. Whoa, total change. Instead of selling 500 or 600 items, we're selling 5 to 15 to 25 items. Big difference. It's not about speed at this point. We don't care how quickly we get through the items. That's not important in a benefit auction. We're concerned about engagement. We're concerned about getting the crowd involved. We're concerned about making sure that people are laughing and are entertained regardless of whether or not they're bidding in the live auction. That's what a benefit auction's about. That's what a benefit auctioneer should be doing, is making it fun and lively for everybody, not just the bidders. So at that point, speed is it's a non-issue. In fact, I've got one of the team members on my team. I've been talking to him about slowing it down. We don't need to go so fast. You can slow your chant down by 3/4 and still sound fast to someone who doesn't go to auctions all the time. It's just not about speed. So that speed thing is not important. The engagement factor is, the personality is, and what we want to do then is figure out where are we going to start the sale and the benefit auction. Well, this is where that prospective client, I should say, had an issue, because the auctioneer had done what a commercial auctioneer typically does. They started off at the price, the value of the item, and then they dropped it down and down and trying to get a bid. And that felt uncomfortable to the nonprofit. Now, I've got someone on my team who does that same method. That's their approach. I don't use that approach just not my style, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't work. So my advice to you is that if this is important, if this is a hot button, if you could see getting some people would be upset about some things given on how it goes, then by all means you want to talk to your auctioneer about this to see how they're going to do it. I can promise you though, the auction I did on Saturday, neither one of those co-chairs remember what I started any of those items at. They don't remember, but they remember what they sold for. They do remember what they sold for. So there's an axiom that a lot of auctioneers like to say is, you know, you aren't going to remember what I started it at, you're going to remember where I sold it. And I guess that's true most of the time until the client has a problem, and then they start wondering, why did she do it that way? There's your 2-cent lesson today on auctioneer training. I'm Sherry with Red Apple Auctions, and you can learn a lot more about benefit auctions over on my website, redappleauctions.com. I do have some free resources for you over there as well, in addition to videos such as this. One of them is my item guide. It's the top 100 items I sold for over their estimated value at the auctions that I worked around the country last year. It's a very great tool for procurement meetings. So be sure to grab that today. And meanwhile, as always, good luck to you in your benefit auction.